Today, May 19th, it is 4:59 and we will call it to order. Everybody had an opportunity to review the agenda. Anything that we're missing? We could have a Member Gullickson.
Thank you, Chair Creasy. I'll move the agenda as presented.
Very good, thank you. Any input? All those in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. And we should take a moment to review our minutes from the May 5th meeting. Any revisions that are needed or any omissions? Member Hibbs?
I'll move that they be accepted as presented.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? That's unanimous as well. Wonderful. So that gets the start of the meeting underway. We can move into our permit applications. The first item up from 50th Avenue is an application for a fence height variance. Development Officer Kirk, could you take us through that item, please?
You bet. All right, so an application has been received requesting a variance to the maximum allowable height of a front yard fence and its automated gate proposed to be located at 5424 50th Avenue. There was 25 neighboring consultation letters sent out. At the time of writing the report, 2 responses were received, 1 in support, or 2 in support and 1 in opposition. For the analysis. Fence and gates located in a front yard which are greater than 1 meter in height require a height variance and therefore a permit. Any front yard fence that is less than or equal to 1 meter would not require a permit. Most of this proposed fence would reach 1.07 meters in height and would require a 7% variance to the maximum allowable height of a fence. The gate, which is one component of the fence, has an arched feature at its center, which would reach 1.37 meter at its highest point and would require a 0.37 meter 37% variance. 2 responses in support of development of the fence were received. 1 response letter was received in opposition, stating that the proposed variance is excessive. In response to the concern, staff contacted the opposing neighbor to clarify that the height variance is closer to 7 centimeters overall, with a 37 centimeter curved feature located on the gate only. The neighbor expressed their concern about the concept of a front yard fence rather than the actual height, with the understanding that a fence less than or equal to 1 meters would not require a permit at all. The neighbor appreciated the opportunity to express their opinion. So recommendations, as development permits are typically not required for front yard fences that do not exceed 1 meter in height, staff are of the opinion that the overall 1.07 meter fence with the gate reaching 1.37 meters at its highest point are variances which are minor in nature and recommend approval subject to the conditions. 5 of them.
Who would like to start there? Member Gullickson?
Thank you, Chair Creasy. I just have a question regarding the fence. On the drawing, it shows total height of 4 feet. Is that the top of the gate or is that the fence from the ground, the top of the fence from the ground?
Hold on. Oh no, sorry, I thought I was muted there for a second. So the height of the fence is 3.5 feet, and the highest point of the gate would be the highest part of the arch is 4.5. Does that answer your question?
So it's 4.5 feet high at the arch, at the top of the arch?
Top of the arch, yeah.
Okay, and it's 3.5 feet, the fence, is that, and that's from the ground. It shows there's some spacing from the, to me, it kind of indicates that it might be a little higher than that on the drawing, but that's minor. It was written in as 4 feet high, but that's.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3.5.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think that what that's referring to is the top of the columns extend 1.5 inches and then the bottom of the fence is 6 inches above grade to allow perhaps some room for snow clearing and that kind of thing, so.
Yeah,
Overall.
but I mean, the height, we're not giving a variance for that. We're not giving a variance to 4 feet, right? Fence. Is it,
We're going to the highest point, which is the middle of the arc in the gate.
right, but we're doing two. We're doing one for the arc and we're doing one for the fence itself, right? Are we not? Just read that.
I
The
think-
one variance is like 0.07 and the other one's 0.37.
Yeah, I think the idea was that we would allow a variance of up to that maximum height in accordance with the design. And then the discussion is just saying, for the record, the fence itself is not actually as high as the maximum allowable height. So I think it would just be the one variance.
So we would be given a total variance for the whole fence of 0.37 then.
Well, it would be, we are allowing the fence to reach this height at its maximum, with the understanding that the rest of the fence is a bit lower. I think is the way.
But if we give that variance for the fence, would they not be able to build it all to that height?
No. I don't think so.
No, they have to build it in accordance with the proposed design. That was
Okay. I'm just, because I thought that there was two separate variances, like for the fence itself and then for the gate. But, okay.
Greg was going for clarification.
And hopefully not to confuse the matter further, on the detailed drawing that I have, looks like from a company called Ameristar. It's got standard heights and one is circled. Is that to mean that the entire fence is of that 3.5 foot variety? Or does it increase its height as it goes towards the backyard?
No, the entire fence in the front is 3.5 feet high, and there's no snow clearance underneath. Yeah, just to clarify that as well.
So this is just a standard detail. This wasn't specifically for your job. That helps me a lot. I was, when I saw that it's 3, 3.5, 4, 5, and 6 feet up, and I looked at the plan, I'm thinking, well, where's these higher heights at? It's all
Right.
that same height. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's all, yeah, sorry. I guess that drawing, that's the options of what you can order the fence in, I think is what you're seeing there.
Very good. Well, I mean, these rules are in place for front yard gates for very good reason, or front yard fences, I mean. In this case, because it is a wrought iron, I find that to be rather different than what most people consider as a fence, which is blocks a substantially more view, has more coverage than a wrought iron fence like this. So myself, I really have no concerns with it. Anyone else?
I've got no issue with it.
Thank you, Member Nugent. If no one else has, we could probably go right to the exception.
I can make that motion if you're ready.
Sorry,
Certainly, the floor is yours, Member Nugent.
Oh, I was just gonna make the motion. We content?
It doesn't matter, you're certainly free to make the motion.
Okay, I move to accept this with the following 5 conditions. Resolved that the Municipal Planning Commission approve a 0.07 meter or 7% variance to the maximum allowable height for a fence and a 0.37 meter or 37% variance to the maximum allowable height for a front yard gate to be located at 5424 50th Avenue, Lot 28, Plan RN9, zoned R1 Residential Detached District, and part of the Old Town Main Street District Residential District. Approval is in respect of works consisting of and is as described on the development permit application forms and plans submitted by the applicant, subject to the following 5 conditions.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. Did I see a hand up here before we went to motion?
No, I just wanted to apologize because the resolution does have it broken into 2 separate variances. I shouldn't have interrupted.
No, it's no problem. I think the way that was presented, I'm not sure that we necessarily need to, but that's up for you to let us know. Robert, as you heard, there are 5 conditions that accompany this motion.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been through all 5 of them?
I believe so.
Were there any of concern to you?
Can you rattle off the 5 conditions again for me quickly?
Certainly, I will have our administration do that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 1 is this permit indicates that only the development to which it relates is authorized with the provisions of the land use bylaw, and in no way relieves or excuses the applicant from complying with the land use bylaw or any other bylaw, orders, or regulations affecting such development. Number 2, this permit is valid for a period of 12 months from the date of issue. If at the expiry of this period, the development has not been commenced with reasonable diligence, this permit shall be null and void. Number 3, an electrical permit will be required for the gate. Number 4, the development officer may, in accordance with section 645 of the Municipal Government Act, take such action as is necessary to ensure that the provisions of the bylaw are complied with. And number 5, the decision of the Municipal Planning Commission being provided to the applicant and landowner, notice being posted on the City of Lacomb's website, and a notice being posted on the subject lands, and no appeal against the decision being successful.
Perfect. Yep, that's all good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, pretty standard stuff, but I still want you to make sure that you're aware of them.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Any questions or concerns before we vote?
No.
Very good. Anyone have anything further with respect to that motion then? All those in favor? I see none opposed. Very good.
Hang on. Thanks, guys.
Ms. Crow, you've got a beautiful property there, and I think this will enhance it further. Best of luck to you.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm very excited.
I'll send you a decision letter tomorrow morning that outlines what happened here today.
Okay, perfect. And thank you for all your help with getting all this together.
You're very welcome.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
Night. We're okay with this in the motion then?
Yep.
Very good. Next one up, a home occupation for counseling service at 46 Lexington Close. Development Officer Chappelle, are you going to take us through this one?
Yeah, does not appear as though the applicant is in attendance. Application has been received for a private counseling business to be operated out of 46 Lexington Close. Notification letters for this proposal were shared with adjacent landowners within 60 meters of the property for feedback. One letter of opposition was received, therefore the decision is being referred to the Municipal Planning Commission for consideration. If the business is approved by an MPC, the applicant is also requesting permission for residential signage to advertise the business, which is a discretionary permit. Neighboring property consultations were sent out to 24 property owners within 60 meters of the subject site. At the time of writing this report, 3 responses were received in support of the application and 1 was received in opposition. The complainant delivered their response in person and added that Lexington Close is very congested with many children and there are often utility service vehicles parked on the street. Their comments are included within the report. And on further notification of the scheduled MPC meeting, no further responses were received. The proposed counseling business would operate by appointment only on weekdays from 10 to 6 p.m., 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and until 8:30 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. The applicant anticipates 1 client per day, either in person or on a digital platform such as Zoom. On-street parking for up to 2 vehicles is available for the in-person appointments, as the home includes a double car garage for the residents of the home and a large driveway where the clients would park. With respect to the proposed signage, home occupation 2 type businesses are allowed signs subject to conditions, including but not limited to size, height, and contents. The proposed sign is smaller than the maximum allowable size. It will be affixed to the attached garage will be unlit and will only include the business name and an arrow directing clients to use the side entrance. The proposed home occupations business model does not point toward a substantial increase in traffic, given that much of the business will be conducted online, and there may only be one client per day who would park in the front driveway. When pandemic restrictions are lifted, the business will move offline with clients visiting the home. Further, the proposed sign complies with the land use bylaws parameters of home occupation signage. Therefore, planning and development services is in support of the application of both aspects of the application and recommends approval. Subject to conditions.
Thank you. I've seen a lot of hands up here. Member Gulleton.
Was the owner of this business supposed to be here tonight?
Yep, they had indicated that they were planning on attending and received an invite.
Did we want to wait and see if they show up? Because I certainly have some questions regarding parking addition, different things.
Sorry for interrupting. I have received a message that someone is trying to get into the system and into the meeting and just having a little bit of trouble connecting in. So I'm sending her the instructions, but I'm not sure how long it will take her to connect in.
Appreciate that information. You expect there are only questions that the owner can answer? Or?
Possibly, but I mean, we may be able to answer them here, but I just thought that they may want to be in if they were, planning to be here, that's all.
You can certainly ask your questions now.
I'll ask the questions. I have a real problem with the parking here. And on the signage, would the signage indicate that is a parking space for customers? That it's going to go in the front of the house or in the garage door? Because, I mean, there's, like you look at the overhead picture, I mean, there's one spot there right at the moment. And I feel that, it's going to be even though it might only be one customer, it could be an issue unless that is a designated customer parking spot. I know it's hard for us to enforce that, but I would like the sign to indicate that it is customer parking on that spot. Because I think this is the one issue for I mean, I like the business in a home. In a close like this, though, I think it's really tight, and it's, if once we get past the pandemic and there's more traffic, it could become more of an issue. And I just want to make sure that spot is available for the customer to park in, and to ensure that they let the customers know that they're to park on that driveway. We have no way of enforcing that, I don't think, really, but it's something that I think we should indicate.
I think you're correct. We really don't have any way to enforce it, but certainly making that provision so that spot is clearly visible as a customer.
As a customer.
Is certainly within our power to do so. Member Hibbs? Actually, before you start, were there additional questions?
That's my main concern, is the signage, and to make sure that we indicate it. I'm concerned about the parking.
Okay, very good. Member Hibbs, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I had similar questions. I mean, parking, of course, is always the major, friction point when it comes to home occupation. I do appreciate, of course, that this is, a counseling business, and I understand that if there is in fact only going to be one customer, which technically, depending on what kind of counseling they do, might actually be two, clients at one time. I don't know what kind of counseling this is. Like we're not being told that. So I guess I don't really have any concerns either, other than, again, that was the same idea I had, is to make it really obvious on signage, ideally, that it is customer parking. I think there was a comment that this home has potentially 3 vehicles. Was that the same application? And if that's the case, I'm wondering, like, where are those vehicles parked? Is one of them expected to be away every single day, so it's not an issue? It's not taking up a parking spot?
I am.
that's kind of gray zone. How many vehicles an individual may or may not own is not really part of our discussion here. That was brought forward by an individual in written format, and that's fine. We don't have any bylaws that speak to or for that in any way, shape, or form. So I think it might be in our best interest to perhaps overlook that one at this time.
That's very fair, but I do appreciate Member Gullickson's point that the signage should reflect that this is meant to be client parking, I don't know, only or whatever when, you know, when it's business hours per se. I think that would address the issue.
Very good, and I expect that, given that that has been mentioned by the first two speakers, that that will be incorporated into the motion when it's read, is my expectation anyway, but Member Nowichin, did you have your hand up there?
Nope.
Okay, my apologies.
Mr. Chairman, we've just had someone join the meeting. I'm not sure if it is the applicant. It's Ms. Pam Thompson has just joined.
Very good. Ms. Thompson, Chair Creasy here, can you hear me?
She's got her mute on.
I believe you've got your mute on. Can you hear me? Well, we're going to go with the understanding that perhaps she is able to hear. Anyone else wish to speak? Do we have a motion to consider?
So,
Member Gullickson?
thank you, Chair Creasy. I just have a question on that. If we made the motion, would we just amend number 9 then as far as their conditions? To state that it needs to designate customer parking?
I think it works.
That would be fine.
Yeah, okay. We just amend number 9, say state customer parking. Okay. Yep. I would be fine to make that motion with that amendment to, so I would make the motion that Municipal Planning Commission approve a home occupation 2 for counseling and 0.12 meter sign to be located at 46 Lexington Close, Lot 50, Block 4, Plan 9823470, zoned R1 residential detached district with the following 9 conditions.
I think you're 13.
Oh, I'm sorry, 13. That's why I only have 9. Well, there we go. Okay, following 13 conditions with an amendment in condition 9 to include customer parking only on the sign. Designated parking space.
Very good. Everyone heard the motion. Anything to add? And I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is unanimous as well. Thank you very much. Next up is a consideration for a garden suite on 55th Avenue. Officer Charles could, let's do that one. Or actually, before we do have an individual waiting. Which item are they anticipating?
This very one.
This next one?
Yeah.
Very good. Let's continue on then.
Okay, administration has received an application for a 1.5-story garden suite to be located within an accessory residential building. Parking for 2 vehicles will be provided on a gravel parking pad outside of the accessory residential building. Principal building on the site, an older bungalow, is 1 story.
Pam Thompson is now exiting.
Therefore, the proposed accessory building is proposed to be taller than the principal building. is the house. Neighboring property consultations are required as part of the public consultation policy. Pursuant to this policy, a total of 22 property owners within 60 meters of the subject site were notified. At the time of writing this report, 2 responses were received in support of the application, and 1 phone call was received inquiring about block densities for the area as well as other general questions about the development. Caller was not in opposition of the development. According to a real property report and plans related to recent renovation, staff were able to confirm the footprint area of the principal dwelling to be approximately 91.2 square meters. Garden suites are allowed to cover 60% of the principal building's footprint, but should not exceed 75 square meters. With a footprint of 53.5 square meters, the proposed garden suite structure is within the allowable 60% of the principal dwelling and has a footprint area of less than 75 square meters. With respect to height, the garden suite is less than the maximum allowable height for this type of building, which is 9 meters. However, it will exceed the height of the principal dwelling by approximately 1.82 meters, which is 6 feet. Garden suites are to be at least half a meter shorter than the principal building. Presumably, this is to ensure that garden suites remain compatible in scale with surrounding residential development and maintain appropriate building mass to not overshadow the principal dwelling or adjacent residential properties. Based on the neighboring responses, no concerns were received relating to the height. In accordance with section 2.11 on rules of interpretation with respect to the word shall, staff recommend waiving the second part of clause 9.11.10, which would require the accessory residential building to be 0.5 meters shorter than the principal building. The height of the accessory residential building would be limited to a maximum height of 6.1 as indicated on the submitted drawing, 0.1 meters. The rationale is that the accessory residential building is less than 9 meters tall and less than 60% of the principal building size. It would be situated approximately 28 meters south of the principal dwelling, therefore remaining compatible with the surrounding residential development. If MPC is not in favor of waiving the height restriction, staff recommend MPC table the application until such time that the applicant is able to redesign the accessory residential building with an elevation that is 0.5 meters less than the height of the main dwelling, which would be the maximum, which would mean a maximum allowable height of 3.77 meters, which is 12 feet tall. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed garden suite will not pose a detrimental impact to the neighborhood, nor will the height of the proposed accessory residential building be overwhelming with respect to compatible building massing. Planning and Development Services is not in opposition of the proposed garden suite as submitted. We are suggesting 2 options for MPC's consideration. 1, MPC approve the garden suite and waive the height restriction to allow the accessory residential building to be developed in accordance with the submitted plans. Or table the application for the garden suite until such time that the accessory residential building be redesigned with an elevation that is 0.5 meters less than the height of the main dwelling, which would mean a maximum height of 3.77 or 12 feet. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Who would like to start? Ribs?
I don't actually have any problems with this proposal. I think that given especially the size of the property, the slight variance is going to be a non-issue. I don't even think it's going to be noticeable, frankly. So I am prepared to make the motion. Of course, that doesn't dissuade anybody from asking questions or any voicing concerns, but be it resolved that the Municipal Planning Commission approve a 53.5 meter square garden suite and waive the regulation limiting the accessory building to an elevation of 0.5 meters less than the height of the house and allow a maximum height of 6 meters indicated on the plans submitted to be located at 5527 55th Avenue, Lot 14, Block 5, Plan 4880R, zoned R1, with the following 8 conditions.
Thank you very much. I too think that this will be a a good addition to the neighborhood, given the massive size of the lot. And I especially like the fact that there's been an allowance for parking for 2 vehicles, given that there is anticipated to be 2 bedrooms in the upper floor loft area, however you want to term it. So, anyone else? Was there anything that, I'm sorry, I forgot the applicant's name.
Alex?
Alex, was there anything any questions you had or anything that any additional information that you wanted to give us?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that the existing house is a tiny bungalow, 80-year-old, and it's just 14 feet tall. So it's really short. And yeah, I agree with you that we should not stick to the height of the existing house because it will be rebuilt sooner or later. And yeah, this is, and the lot size is the lot is large, and it's 50 by 214, and there is no use for the spare for such a big lot. So yeah.
Thank you. As the motion was presented there are some 8 conditions that are attached to it. Have you went through each one of those with our development team here at the city?
Yeah, I'm aware of them.
Okay, and do you have issues with any of them?
Not really.
Okay, very good. Then we will not address them individually. If you were content with the way they're laid out. Anyone have any additional questions or concerns? Very good. For the motion, then, all those in favor? I see none opposed. That is carried unanimously. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Someone from the development department will be in contact with you to explain the next steps.
Thank you so much again.
And the secondary suite at 5621 56th Avenue is next.
And the applicant has indicated that they will not be in attendance.
Okay.
Neighboring property consultations were sent out to 18 property owners within 60 meters of the subject site. At the time of writing this report, no responses were received. We have received an application for a secondary suite to be located at 5621 56th Avenue, which is zoned R4. In R4 district, suites are exempt from density regulations and are deemed acceptable for development within semi-detached dwellings. The proposed suite includes the entire basement floor area. Secondary suites are typically limited to 90% of the main floor area. Therefore, it would require 10% variance to the maximum allowable floor area for a secondary suite. The applicant has indicated that the laundry facilities and mechanical room are independent from the main floor dwelling. Therefore, staff would recommend attaching a condition of approval to ensure all electrical, plumbing, and gas permits are in place for the main floor as well as the suite, as it is presumed that work may have been done on the main floor to accommodate the various fixtures that go along with laundry facilities and mechanical rooms. Parking on the site can be accommodated by an existing double car garage and surrounding hard surfaced area, which appears, according to the city's aerial image, to have the capacity to accommodate 4 additional vehicles, some of which would be parked in tandem. Given the R4 allowances on density and a lack of opposition from the neighborhood, Planning and Development Services recommends approval subject to conditions.
Thank you. Member Gullis, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Creasy. I have a question regarding the mechanical room. So they installed another furnace for the upstairs?
I believe so.
Really? That seems really strange to me. Well, I mean, I've seen lots of places with 2 furnaces, but normally they're both in the one mechanical room. They're separate areas without facility, I would be really surprised if they put a separate furnace in for upstairs, but that's what they told you they did?
Yep, when we were trying to determine shared area, he said that downstairs was completely independent of the upstairs with respect to those things.
I mean, because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't even be here, right? Is that correct? It wouldn't have to come to us?
It would still be discretionary.
Well, it's still discretionary, even though it would be the 90%?
Yeah.
Because I suspect they never put another furnace in. I mean, the duct, they'd have to run all new duct work, and I just can't see that happening. Did they do a lot of renovation here, do you know, to do the secondary suite?
I'm not totally sure on that. I think that they're waiting for approval to decide whether or not they should pursue that.
Oh, okay, so this suite doesn't exist at this time yet?
I think parts of
it do?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I would really, I mean, I have no issue with this, the location of it. I think it'd be fine, and they seem to have adequate parking in the back. I just, I don't know if I believe that the mechanical room will be upstairs also, that's all, so.
Well, I'm assuming that one of the conditions is with the proper permitting. Gas electric to be in place, and the building code review will be accommodated at that time.
That's our number 4.
Because I think that is a real concern.
Yeah, well, it probably isn't a concern, because I mean, there's a lot of secondary suites that would have the mechanical room in the basement that serves the upstairs. I mean, it just doesn't become part of the suite, right? Is that not how that works?
Well, we would have been able to subtract that off
Yeah,
of the floor area.
exactly, or portion of it, yeah. Well, okay. I don't think it's an big issue. I just found it strange.
Member Glad?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I think it's, I mean, if there's not a separate source of heat, it's not going to pass code. I mean, you have to have I mean, even in our place on 50th Ave, we had to have a separate source of heat. So it was underfloor heating for the lower level of the house, and then the furnace fed the heat for the main area. And people that across the street from us who built their house at the same time, they opted to put 2 furnaces in, one for their suite in the basement and one for the main house. And Candace Campbell on the corner, when they redid the suite in that house or built the suite, they had to put 2 furnaces in too. So you have to have 2 separate sources of heat in order to pass the code.
Right.
Yeah,
and then certainly that code review will form a part of the permits that it will have to be issued and approved in order to satisfy the requirements of the conditions.
Yeah, I understand that part. If you have to have 2 separate sources of heat, I just don't see them 2 mechanical. That's all. I would think there would be 1 mechanical room with both sources.
Yes, which is fine.
Yeah, well,
They're fired out according to code, then absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Any other concerns, Member Glad?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Hibbs?
Thank you, Chair Creasy. I guess I want to look at the parking. I'm confused as to how this tandem plan will work, only because you're talking about a garage. So are the tenant, like the 2 different tenants sharing the garage and then each parking in front of their own side? Or does upstairs get the garage and downstairs gets the 2 parking spots on the pad? Like, I don't understand how it's going to work. I'm trying to run through the different possibilities in my mind, but perhaps administration has some guidance as to how that's going to actually function.
It's a good question. With respect to what we're able to see, I would assume that one floor would have the garage and the other floor would have the parking area to the side, where they would be tandem parked on the east side of the garage. So there's enough space there. And I imagine from time to time, someone might park behind the garage, but I wasn't able to determine all of the exact details on the parking arrangements. We just went based on area in square meters and determined that the appropriate number of spaces would be available for the 2 dwelling units.
So just to be clear, then there are 2 parking spaces are to be accounted for the main and for the
Yes.
suite?
Yes.
And theoretically, there are 6 here, but we're just not certain how they're configured.
Correct.
So
Because
just,
I happen to share Member Hibbs's concerns with if in fact only one was going to use the garage, one was to use the pad behind it, that operationally that is not feasible. I wouldn't expect so. Given that there are some to the side over, you can see the pickup truck parked in one of these photos. However, is that indicated? Okay, is indicated on the side. Okay, very good. With all the green automobiles in the photo there, very good. Makes them stick out good and very good. So sorry.
For the neighbors.
Anything else? Do we have a motion already? No. So they're thinking.
I'm sorry, but where are we looking that we see a vehicle? Oh, is it the picture that's showing the garage that's showing a truck that's parked right next to the garage? Just because the photo from the top looks like there's some sort of obstruction that you can't actually park next to the garage. So like, I don't know what that is from the aerial view. Maybe it's just a pile of dirt and that doesn't exist there. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I guess what I want is clarification for sure that you can park beside the garage as well as then in front of it without impeding any access to the garage.
Yeah, so I can confirm when I went out to the site and took the photographs, I didn't see any features that would prevent that truck from backing up further than as shown in the image. So that dark discoloration, it looks to me to be the same color as their garden. So maybe it's just a pile of dirt and they were putting in those garden beds that you can see from the aerial. But that's since been cleared.
And quite honestly, I suppose in theory, they could be each have one garage space and one behind satisfies the requirements anyway. Does it not?
They could, yeah.
I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but it's kind of an unusual situation here. But I think however it's configured, they have supplied really more than what is the bare minimum, which is encouraging.
And we've made the allowance in the bylaw to consider tandem parking for secondary suites. So.
Absolutely. I now that I have that clarification that there is in fact space for 2 vehicles to park beside the garage, not in front of the garage, that meets the requirement. I'm satisfied. I don't have an issue.
Very good. Anything else? Member Gullickson.
Thank you, Chair Creasy. I'll make the motion that the Municipal Planning Commission approve the 86 square meter secondary suite with a 10% variance to the maximum allowable floor area, respecting the suite to principal dwelling ratio for a secondary suite to be located at 5621 56th Avenue, Lot 14, Block 23, Plan 4893, RS zoned R4, with the following 7 conditions.
I don't think any of those conditions are exceptional.
Well, the applicant confirmed with me that they read the report and they were satisfied.
Very good. Everybody satisfied? I call the question then. All those in favor? And that looks to be unanimous as well. Thanks, everyone. And our update for Development Authority permits issued. Looks like there's a couple to go through there as well, Jennifer.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Right, so the first one was for a 0.7 meter, 78% side yard and rear yard setback variance on a proposed shed at 46 Cedar Crescent. So a total of 20 property owners were notified. No opposition was received. That one was conditionally approved on May 6th and the appeal period ends on May 27th. And the next one was for a 0.47 meter, 52% side yard setback variance on an existing rear detached garage at 5451 47th Avenue. 16 neighbors were notified. No opposition was received. That one is conditionally approved May 19th, subject to a 21-day appeal period that ends on June 9th. And that's it.
Thank you. Just checking the addresses here, seeing where that, okay. Wonderful. Any questions on either of those? Our next meeting is scheduled for June 2nd. Do we have applications currently?
Yes, we do.
So a high probability we will have a meeting on June 2nd then to put in your calendars. Anything else?
Maybe if Mrs. Thompson is able to speak. I don't know if we had any other questions for her. Oh, sorry, for the home occupation.
Oh, for the home occupation? Very good. Not a problem. Was there any clarification or did you have any concerns, Ms. Thompson, that you'd like to bring forward?
I had already planned on that sign being specifying that parking spot would be for clients. The maximum amount of vehicles ever brought in with a client would be one, because it's either a couple or it's a parent and child is the kind of counseling that I do. And that, so parking in terms of that would be good. One of the things that's a little bit different is after the pandemic is over, a majority of my people will remain on Zoom. So there won't be a great influx of clients in person, just because lots of people really prefer the Zoom. So, yeah.
Well, we all,
it's for me.
we all appreciate the positive wording when it's over. Thank you for that. Keep in mind that your application was already approved, so
Yeah.
Very good, but we appreciate the additional input.
Yeah, and thank you for listening to me. Took me a while to try to get on here.
Not a problem. I think we probably only have one last motion. If someone would care to make it. Member Gullickson.
Thank you, Chair Creasy. I'll move that we adjourn.
I think we're all good. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
What time is it?
It is precisely 5:47.
That didn't come in this time, tell you.